If you want to ever see how vain and incredibly insecure you are, start a YouTube channel. So you want to make compelling characters that'll tug at the heartstrings of your reader, just leave them emotionally scarred when you do something terrible and cursing your name. Make them real. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Make them real. Okay. See y'all next video. Okay, fine. I suppose I should elaborate a little bit on what I mean by making a character real. Really, I'm just going to be repeating something you've probably already heard many times already in your writing journey. For characters to be impactful, they need to feel real. They need to feel grounded in reality. We're so far past that perfect archetype, the Superman archetype. Hell, it's 2021, Superman can be a dick, right? That's probably the first lesson, and one of the most important ones. Avoid perfection, because when perfection is unobtainable, and when you make a character perfect, you're taking the reader out of the pages immediately. As humans, we subconsciously study each other all the time. We are experts on human nature. It is something that you have to be aware of as a writer, because the reader is going to be an expert on human nature. They're going to immediately know when something feels fake or forced. That's why you have to treat your characters as if they're real people. It takes the reader out of it because your readers are going to be empathetic in some way. I say this because when reading text, the reader is just as important to evoking reactions as the author. In a movie or TV show, the actor is the bridge between the words and the audience. They do the heavy lifting of emotion. In a video game, the player is even more intimately familiar with the character, and in some cases, they're the one driving the emotional decisions. In both cases, you have music. That helps set the tone. When writing is the medium, there's none of that additional help to get your point across. You're relying on the emotional intelligence of your audience. And you must treat that like something precious. Precious! Your audience is your partner in creating a narrative worth holding on to. The best way I know to do that is by making characters feel real. Again, I'm going back to that. Make your characters feel real. Make that your mantra. Is your character real to you? So how do you do that? For me, I studied human behavior, both in school and out. I made it a point to study humanity because if I'm going to write about it, I should at least try to understand it a little bit. It also helped me navigate my relationship with my wife a little bit. It's good to know a little bit of what's going on in her head. Humans can be both predictable and chaotic, and sometimes that chaos is predictable. Think about what makes people react the way they do to certain events. What sequences in their life made someone hate tomatoes? What cultural norms do they exhibit, or do they willfully reject them? Why? Get in the habit of studying people, not necessarily people you know, because pro tip, probably already do that. But others, people you see around you, people on TV, read some autobiographies, go and learn some psychology, study some history and sociology. Generally, people do not act without reason. The reason may not always be clear at first glance, but we aren't generally subject to vague impulses. Even things we do that we may not fully understand the why of are usually linked back to something we've learned or been exposed to. Once you start to see what makes people tick, start applying that to your characters. Write some story for them. Why did Angry Joe reach for the jam to throw against the wall and not the peanut butter? Was it because it was the closest thing to him? Was it because the jam jar was glass and it would make a more satisfying shatter? Or was it that peanut butter was the childhood snack that his mother used to make? Does any of this make it in the book? Hell no. Does any of this make a tremendous difference to the trajectory of the story? Also no. So why do a stupid exercise like that? Because it makes you think sequentially about Angry Joe. We think of Joey not as just a character existing in that time and place, as they are, but also Joey as a young kid. Sitting at the table, just chowing the fuck down on peanut butter with maybe with some celery. Even if it doesn't make it onto your manuscript or even a notebook, the more you think about your characters as fully fleshed out beings, the more likely they will come alive for you. Always ask yourself why a character is doing something. If the answer is to move the plot forward, that's probably going to come across as an insult to your audience's emotional intelligence. And remember, we're trying to treat our audience as a partner, not as some a-hole we're yelling plot points at while brandishing your coffee-stained manuscript like a sword. A character's sentience shouldn't be subverted to force your plot because you, as the author, built that character's sentience in the first place. So if your characters suck, it's kinda your fault. You set the parameters of behavior when you flesh them out. I know this because 50,000 words into my current work in progress, my characters were dog shit, and I need to start going back and rewriting them. Because what I was doing with them is I was not looking at them in the same way I had in prior characters. I was looking at them as ways to move the plot. Because I had started with the plot and I was like, how am I gonna get from point A to point B to point C? Well, this character needs to do this, this, and this. That doing it that way made my characters really hollow, and they had no oomph to them. I could kill them off on two pages, and no one would give a shit. That's not what you want with characters. You want them to be someone that your reader knows. And trust me, the longer you spend with your characters, the more you'll get to know them. At times, they may even foil your plot, but if the character is strong enough, you can take your plot in new and exciting directions for the right reasons. This happened in both of my books, and the story is better for it. My characters derailed the plot I had planned out and created a story that was much more real and believable because I did not make them conform against their personalities and backstories to fit the preconceived notions I had of how the story should go. Sometimes as an author, you have to realize that the things that you started with may be a crappy idea and you need to rework it. And by making a character real, by making a character have thoughts, feelings, and personality, you can get to that point. In future videos, I may kind of go into some of the ways that you make a person real, but really for this one, I just wanted to focus on the basis of start your research now. Start looking at people. Start looking at ways, start studying some things like psychology, history, and sociology. That's really where I got my basis. I think doing that before you go to the highlighted, every time you look and search on, how do you make a character real on Google, start with the research. Because if you can start understanding people around you, you'll find it very easy to write compelling characters. Let's see, how can I end this video? Maybe I should do something like, if you really enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And if you want to see more of this face, I'm on twitch.tv/redbeardflynn. Come hang out with me. I'd like to hear from you. Please also leave comments down below. Tell me how you make your characters real. Give me some advice. I'd love to hear it.